In today's show, we touch on a more light-hearted subject for us, which is looking back on some things with nostalgia in our youth. And we ask whether millennials will recognize any of these things.
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend. Once again, I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Tony?
Come on, we're going to be talking about a fun subject today to brighten the mood, lift the atmosphere, so you can lift our audience. Say hi to our audience.
I'm going to surprise you, Tony. I am going to say hello to the audience.
Oh, go on then.
Hello, audience. How are you doing? This is Tayo. Got a little something for you here, guys.
Oh.
Just remember, success is failure that hasn't happened yet. So what's the flipping point, eh? Hey? There's no point, man. It's all pointless.
Trust you to try and bring everybody down. I am not going to succumb to this stuff. No, I'm more
I'll
positive.
never give up, Tony. I'll never give up. We'll crack that optimistic shell around you yet.
Hello, audience. Welcome to the shenanigans, as you've already discovered. No, but today's show is a little bit more lighthearted, let's be honest. We're going to look back with nostalgia on some of the things we've gone through growing up. And we ask the question, will millennials, who are the younger audience members who are probably listening in, will they recognize some of the things we're going to discuss today? So Tayo, do you want to kick things off on some of these topics?
I wouldn't mind. It's all right with me. I think I'll start off with something that even you haven't seen, Tony. Probably.
Really?
Most likely, yes.
Go on then.
Are you aware that back in the day, fridges could be powered with kerosene?
Do you know what? No, I was not aware of that.
Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day.
You had kerosene fridges because, well, the power supply, I was going to say the power supply was erratic in Nigeria, but of course the power supply is still erratic
in Nigeria.
And you can't get a hold of kerosene fridges now. But back in the day, yes, you could get a hold of a kerosene fridge and you had a little bottle of the stuff. Through a pipe, a little bit of
put it in just to keep the fridge going,
and just keep the fridge going. And it didn't need electricity or anything, because as long as you had electricity, you could run the little engine and work tuk like that, and it just worked very nicely. Thank you very much.
Wow, I must say, I've grown up in England. It took a while before we even had a fridge. That's one thing. I remember that being very, very young. But then we got a fridge and it did run on electricity. But saying that, we went through, growing up in the 1970s, and there was constant blackouts back then where all the electricity would just be cut off.
Yes, this was the strike, wasn't it? The 3-day week.
Yeah. So
I was very lucky. I missed all that, Every time you guys had a problem here, it so happened that I was in Nigeria at school. And then I'd come on holiday and everything would be fine. And I'd be like, what power cuts?
Yeah, what power cuts? No, I remember the power cuts. Goodness me. They used to happen with great regularity. And you didn't be in the middle of watching your black and white TV. Yes, folks, black and white and no color. And the 3 channels, that's all you had back then.
Which was great, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Once it got started, once the 6 o'clock news would come and gone, and then it started heating up quite nicely up until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
When you had a serial.
Yep.
Something that was worth watching, like, Man from U.N.C.L.E. or
yes.
Or Mission Impossible or The Avengers or something. You'd have a good series on that was watchable None of this woke nonsense, by the way, guys. It was excellent. Women were women and men were men. The baddies were bad and the goodies were good. And you watched it, and then you had the 9 o'clock film. And you had a choice. You could watch the film on BBC, or you could flip over to ITV and watch the film. And what they did was very naughtily. They used to put two really excellent movies against each other. And you had to choose. All right, do you want Clint Eastwood or do you want Charles Bronson? It's up to you. I'm like, I can't have both. Why must they be on at the same time?
Yeah, I know. We'd moan about that. Of the choices, my goodness, 2 choices. Now we've got 1,000 channels of nothing to watch. It's just insane. But,
well, Pink Floyd said it best in the album The Wall, one of the tracks. The direct quote, because I know it almost by heart, the entire thing. The direct quote is, I've got 13 channels of shit on the TV to choose from. At the time, 13 channels was kind of, we've got 13 channels, and now we've got hundreds of channels, and it's still shit to choose from. So you spend, do you know how long I spent going through Netflix looking for something to watch? And then I give up because the time I had assigned to watch a movie, I've spent looking for something to watch, and it's finished. You know, I said, okay, I'll take 90 minutes and I'll watch something. But I can't find anything, and then after an hour I go, well, I'm not going to find anything, so I just leave.
You get just fed up for looking.
Just fed up with looking, and it's not easy to look at Netflix. They haven't made it easy, I think. Anyway,
it's interesting, but yeah, I mean, Netflix and amongst all the other channels, the Sky channels and all the rest, international channels we can watch. It's just an abundance of channels that you could watch. I mean, you could literally exist just in front of the TV. And unfortunately, there's some people that do. Whereas back when we were growing up, you only had 3 channels. That was it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the crazy thing? It used to shut at 11 o'clock or something like that, didn't it?
I used to hate that, you know.
Yeah, so did I. 11 o'clock, they're telling you, right, and we're closing for tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow. So for all of us here, good night. And they go and turn it off.
Yeah. You're like, look, I'm wide awake, man. Damn it. Especially when we were in college, when we were at uni. It's just like, look, you know, what do we do now? It's only 1 o'clock in the morning, man. Yes, we have lectures at night, but still, you know, we're young. We are young. We've got teeth. You know the song? Do you know that song? Yeah. Nice and clean. And we could go off flipping night in those days.
But the problem was you couldn't even go out anywhere because the pubs used to shut.
The pubs were shut
at 10 to 11. Do you remember
everything was shut. There was nowhere to flip and go.
Nowhere. Ridiculous. And the other thing that used to, growing up, was there was no shops open on a Sunday.
Yeah.
No Sunday opening. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. But I never missed it by the shops, by the way, on the Sundays. I
didn't bother either. I thought it was a good idea not to have things open on a Sunday, so you can actually spend time with family and do things like that. But now it's a 24/7 society, so everything's open all the time, everywhere. It's a bit too much, really.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to go back to the thing shutting off at 11 o'clock.
No.
That was horrific, to be honest. I mean, that was not one of the great aspects of life in those days, I think.
No, agreed.
I did love going to the cinema for the late film.
Yes,
it started about 11.
Well, that was the only thing you could do.
Yeah,
really,
but it was, by the way, that was only on like Fridays, I think.
Yeah, Fridays and Saturdays. I think
Fridays and Saturdays. Well, Saturdays was when we went to the disco, so we couldn't go to the late film.
It was open on a Saturday and late, and that was it.
So we went to the disco on a Saturday because that's trying to score, as you used to say. You're going to score, Ty, when I'm going to give it my dashed best effort. Did you score, Ty? No, damn it, I didn't. Better luck next week, Ty. Thank you, Ty. Yeah, real pal, dude.
Oh dear me, that was funny. I can relate totally. Yes, you had to dress up if you were going to the disco.
Yeah, you dressed up, and the girls dressed up, and everything's all very nice. And by the way, I don't know, maybe it's still the same thing. I haven't been to the disco. I don't even want to tell the audience how long I haven't been to disco. Some of them will just fall out of their chairs. And, oh my God, no. But it's certainly been decades since I've been to a disco. Decades, guys. And I don't know if the experience is the same. But when you've been slow dancing with someone, you always had your heart in your mouth because when the lights came on, you wondered what you'd be looking at. Flipping doing and everything, and whatever light was on was always flashing, and you couldn't really get a good sort of what does she really look like. I think she's okay. I don't know. And then the lights would come and we're like, all right, fine, yeah, okay.
The worst thing was she's thinking the same about you.
Yeah, probably, possibly. So yeah, you know, you can't really take offense because that's what you're thinking. Like, how do I make a quick exit stage left? Like, I don't want to score, thanks. If this is the goal, man, you can have it, man. I'm gonna jog on here, but. But more often than not, it'd be like something horrific, like, "Oh, that was so nice. There's my boyfriend. He's waving to me now." Like, what? Sorry, what?
Oh dear. Do you remember Green Shield stamps?
Do I remember Green Shield stamps? My grandmother used to collect Green Shield stamps, and as a treat, I used to get to lick the back of the stamps and stick them into the book.
Stick them in the book. Yeah, that's.
God, what a moron I was! I used to think I was a treat. She was basically farming off the labor to me.
For the benefit of our younger listeners who are thinking, what are these idiots talking about?
Oh my God, they wouldn't even know, would they?
No, they wouldn't know. What it was, we used to have these books and used sticker books effectively, and used to collect these stamps when you bought things, and you'd get a number of stamps. And the idea is you had to try and fill the book. And when you filled this book with these Green Shield stamps, you can then buy things from a catalogue, which is the Green Shield catalogue, and you can buy gifts and items. So it was always exciting when you got Green Shield stamps because you're trying to fill up this book. And it's incredible that we used to do that growing up, and we loved it, didn't we? Because it was almost like, it wasn't an Argos catalogue. If people are familiar with Argos, used to have a big catalogue that used to come out. It was similar but much thinner, but still had things in there that are quite exciting, especially to a young child. And you know, you'd always be sort of drawn in and hope that there's enough Green Shield stamps that your parents will feel the need to treat you. But yeah, it was incredible, really.
I guess it was the forerunner of what's the thing when you go and buy, you go to a petrol station and they give you these points.
Yeah,
I guess was the forerunner of that.
I suppose
and like you go to Tesco, you get the Tesco Club points or something.
Yeah, obviously those are all electronic, but yeah, back then there was none of that.
I've actually forgotten this other one. That's like if you go to Sainsbury's, I think you get it on Sainsbury's, the point system there.
Okay.
It's very famous. I mean, if I remember the name, everybody will know what I'm talking about. So it was the forerunner of these points, these reward points, I think they're called. And yeah, like I said, I used to, you know, it used to be my my little treat. Like, okay, would you like to put the stamps? Yes, please, granny, grandma. Yeah, yes, please.
Oh, dear. I know, I used to remember doing it as well, and licking the stamps. It was like, yeah, incredible, really.
The other thing I think younger listeners probably won't have come across before is, I'll tell them what started this conversation between you and me. I was talking about how my daughter didn't know LPs. I mean, I think we're watching a film, and the guy put the record on the record player, and she was like, "What the heck is one of those?" And I was like, "You can't be serious." I said, "Yeah, I'm serious." What do you mean, what is one of those? It's a record. She was like, "Yeah." So as I'm talking to her, like, you know, these people do nowadays, she started Googling it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my God, look at that. That's so cute."
It was though, wasn't it? And but how, you know, obviously there's a lot of kids that do know that the LPs, they scratched them. Some DJ scratched them. They,
well, she said a sheltered life. I don't even know. I mean, this was a couple of years back, and I don't think we hadn't let her out of the house yet, so I don't think she'd been to a disco or anything. But okay, now that I think about it, it's a little. I'm going to ask her, was she pulling my leg? Because I remember seeing people in movies do this quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
She should have seen them.
Exactly.
Or maybe she's just like her father, not the curious type.
Oh, right. Yeah. You scratch the record to do the and that's a type of music style, didn't it? Even though the LPs and the old records, 45s they were called, remember?
Well, the short ones, yeah.
Yeah.
You said LPs, the LPs and the 45s.
Yeah, LPs and 45s. Yeah, the LPs were bigger, weren't they? They were the
LPs were
larger
multi-track.
size. Yeah, larger
So
size.
for our
with loads of
listeners,
songs.
an LP would be like a CD today.
But they don't know what a CD is now.
Oh,
Who
goodness.
uses CD now? You've got to go even further.
I've got further back. Well, they must know what a CD is, surely.
Well, no. My kids didn't know. My younger son doesn't know what a CD is.
What?
No, doesn't know.
Okay. Okay, because everything's electronic downloads now, yeah?
Yeah, it's all download, isn't it? No idea. It's all streamed. It's all Spotify.
Okay, like an album. Let's put it this way. Then an LP was an album, basically.
Yes.
You know what an album is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
An LP was an album, and a 45
was just one single.
A single.
But two-sided.
Yeah, well, two sides. So you always used to get, A side B. And basically, the LP used to rotate at 33 1/3 revolutions per second.
Minute.
Was it 33 per minute? Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry, that's per second. That'd be whizzing around like a loony, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, 33 1/3 revolutions per minute. And the 45 was 45.
Yeah.
In fact, do you know what? There's a video and a song. I think it was a one-hit wonder. It was called Brimful of Asher.
I remember that, yeah.
And I think the video does actually show someone playing, the little girl was playing, she was playing a 45.
Oh, right.
And because the song was a Brimful of Asher on a 45, if you recall. And the video showed the little girl. I bet she's almost a grandmother now, but I bet she's all grown up now, surely.
Yeah, she's going to be quite old now, of course. Yeah. What the other thing that used to, obviously kids of today have absolutely no idea, is they've got access to mobile phone, take a photo, and it's instant there. Preview, if you don't like it, delete it, take another. Back in our day, we had nothing like this. You had actual film cameras, and even the ones that had, you could buy these disposable cameras that had 12 or 24 pictures in it. That's it. And the thing is, you could take a photo. You had no idea if it was in focus, it was blurred, you had no idea. You just had 24 goes and that's it. And they were useless. And then you had to send them away and wait a week.
Yeah, that's right. And then you take them into Boots or somewhere and they'd say, come back next week, Thursday after 12.
Yeah.
And you'd be all week, you'd be looking forward to your flipping photos and hoping and praying that you took a photo of the young lady and another photo of your thumb.
Yeah, exactly. Which was often the case.
Yeah. I looked at the photo and go, who the heck is this?
Yeah.
I didn't take this photo.
But the quality was, the pictures were tiny, really. And the quality wasn't great at all. They were awful.
No. Well, neither was TV, by the way, when you talk about quality. It had this kind of like grainy sheen to it.
Yeah.
And even then in the 70s, I used to look at it and think, that's not very good quality. And I really, even then I was thinking, that's not really good, quality. I wonder why can't they do something about this? Because some movies and films will come out and they were quite nice, but others will come out and be like really awful.
Yeah.
And if everybody goes back and watches the news reports, when they were in the studio, it was fine. But when they were out and about and doing a live feed from somewhere, especially if it was evening or anything, it was always kind of like really weird. And you can actually go back and look at the films from the TV video. I don't call it video. What the hell do they call it? This copy, if you want to call it. I don't know. From those days, and it had this green kind of thing in it, and it really kind of wrecked.
I think it was something to do with the resolution. Whereas in the studio, they had a massive 360p. So that was 360 lines in the resolution, whereas out on the road, the cameras weren't as good. It was 240p. Yeah. So if you think the resolution we get now on a HD telly, which is now also out of date, which is 1,900 something by 1,074. That's HD. So that says it all.
What's 1080?
1080.
Yeah.
That's the downward side, isn't it? You got 1900 something across and 1080 down. So the down is shorter than the length across, so you get less dots. But if you think that 360 was the resolution of those TVs back then, you can see how poor the quality was. And obviously,
According to Wikipedia, 1080 is full HD or FHD, full HD.
1080.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
HD TV. It's a set of HD TV.
But across the top, it's 1920, 1120.
Yes, 1920, as you
By
see,
1080.
times, by 1080.
1080, that's how many dots you get, and that's full HD. And now we've got 4K, which is a ridiculous number, 3,800 or something.
I really should get myself a new TV, but I don't know. There's nothing to watch, so I haven't really been fussed.
Okay.
I've been thinking about getting a TV, but it's like, what's the point?
Wow. But if you remember, I mean, nowadays, obviously, you've got computers, we've got mobile phones, which are a mobile computer in your hand. You've literally got the world in your hand, and you can access information anywhere around the world at an instant. Back when we were growing up, we didn't have computers. We didn't have an internet. We're not even, even a computer in your house. It was just, science fiction. So
when I finished studying computer science here in the UK, and I returned to Nigeria, I couldn't get a job. Do you know why?
Go on.
There were only 3 computers in the entire country.
Wow.
There were only 3 computers in Nigeria when I returned from the UK. And my parents looked at me and said, so what did you go and study then? And why did you go basically waste your time?
Yeah. Goodness me.
What are you going to do now? And I was like, I'm not really sure. I went back to uni again. And then in the 90s, the microprocessors came out. Well,
yeah.
They came out earlier here but back in Nigeria, it came out. When I got a hold of a microcomputer for myself, it was 92, 93, I think.
Oh, right.
And it was just incredible, the last time I tangled with computers, the entire memory was 1 megabyte. And by the way, we thought we were,
1 megabyte, 1K I got used to. That's how long ago I was.
No, I mean, back at school, back at my college.
Yeah, okay.
We were very proud of ourselves because I think only a couple of unis had bigger computers than we had.
Wow.
So we're very proud of ourselves, and we're like, we've got a 1 megabyte, man, 1 megabyte, man.
How things change, because even now 1 gigabyte is tiny. It's like,
my friend, what's his name now? My friend, he was showing off his new hard drive to me. This is back in the 80s. Oh, sorry, no, it can't have been 80s. It was back in the 90s. He was showing off his new hard drive. It's like, guess how big that is? I said, I don't know. So it's I think it was 1 gigabyte. So it's 1 gigabyte. I said, what the hell are you going to do with 1 gigabyte? That's a real waste of money, man. You're 1 gigabyte.
You never fill that.
You never fill that.
Now we have phones that can run whole banks and countries effectively. You've got more memory in your handset in your phone.
I got 240. It was 256 in my handset.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, I remember working in a bank many, many years ago, and you had a computer that would service the whole building, and it had just a few mega RAM in it.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? And now it's incredible what's changed and how it's moved on. But anyway, I mean, the other thing, going back to nostalgia and going backwards, is what used to fascinate me. I mean, nowadays, if you go into a shop, for instance, everything's got a barcode and all the have you. So if you go through the till, they just scan the barcode. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah. Back when I was growing up, they had no barcodes, did they? They just had a label with a price. So the checkout person had to type in the cost as they went for each item. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And type it on this thing, big mechanical cash machine, and then the price would appear at the end, and you were always scared of what that would be.
But the upmarket shops, you can actually see what she's typing in. So you
Yes.
could check it and you go, no, I don't think that was £6, 2p,
Yes.
tuppence. I think
You
it
could
was,
challenge them, couldn't you? Yeah.
you go, hang on. I didn't say, 3 shillings, tuppence, whatever.
Yeah.
And she look at it and go, and she do,
And
and then
double
she go,
check it. Yeah.
yeah. And she makes some kind of correction and then off you go again.
Yeah. So you could challenge them if you thought they typed it in incorrectly.
Yeah.
So gosh, that was mad. That was madness. But then that shows how technology has affected everything, really. Did you have a pop man and a milkman come round? A
Yes.
pop man?
No, not we had a milkman come round.
Did you have a pop man? He used to come back with fizzy stuff.
No.
Yeah.
No. Just the milkman. And it would come in this cart, which would be rumbling. You could actually hear him in the morning.
Yeah.
Rumble, 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 and then clink, 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 clink. Stop.
And the milk bottles.
Clink, 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 clink. And then you walk up to the porch, open the porch. And there you go. And then when you got that in the morning.
But did you ever get the gold topped milk?
I wasn't really into milk, and I'm still not into milk. So,
because I used to remember,
as I recall, there was always a silver foil thing. So I don't think.
Yeah, there was. What happened, just for the benefit of our listeners, you used to always get milk in glass. There's none of this plastic stuff. It was all glass bottles, and you had 3 types of bottle. They're all the same type, but the top had this little foil on it, and the foil would be either red, either silver, or gold. And people used to look around and see who had the gold ones, because you thought, oh, they're rich because they can afford the gold top. And all it was, it just had a bit more cream in the milk. And the silver had slightly less, and the red didn't have any of the cream at all. So if anybody was buying milk that only had the red, people would think, oh, they're the poor ones, bless. Because they couldn't afford the more expensive milk, the silver or gold, which had more cream in it. Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
But you used to return the bottles, because if you return the bottles back, they'd refund you 2p. 2 pence.
I think our deal was we just put it back, and he left us new bottle, fresh bottles,
yeah,
and took away the old ones. So it was all very nice because you never sort of worried about it. He came on certain days according to what we had asked him to come. And
yeah.
He'd come on certain days and he'd fill the order, and it was all very nice.
It was. It certainly was. It was nice reminiscing on all that sort of stuff, because I don't know whether you look at it with rose-tinted glasses because it was a youthful time and you see all these old things going on. But if you look back, would you want to replace a lot of those with what we have today? Would you or not? I'm not so sure, to be honest, because I do like.
I wouldn't want to go back. Go on.
The convenience element of what we have today. There's so much more choice.
Well, it was a forerunner, wasn't it, of the deliveries?
Yeah.
I mean, I live where I live now, starting sometime during the lockdown.
Yeah.
They started sending us little robots.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And they're so cute. Whoever designed them is a genius. He, I guess, I don't know, she is a genius, because you feel protective towards it. If it was some kind of other shape, you'd be really blasé and not caring. But something about it makes you feel, oh, look at that poor little thing all on its own. It's so brave. That's honestly, my heart goes out to these things. I mean, it's quite sort of weak and feet, but I can't help myself. I just no, and I better not see anybody tampering with it because there'll be trouble, And you see those sort of just like little soldiers just marching off and delivering their stuff. And my first encounter with one was it had come off the pavement and was struggling to get back in, and I didn't know anything. I mean, this is my first encounter. And I just went up to it and just like pushed it back onto the pavement. And I was shocked. Just said, "Thank you."
Oh, really?
Yes. I was like, whoa. I told my wife, and she was like, yeah, it's something similar that happened to her. And I said, yeah, it's amazing, She goes, thank you.
Wow.
That little voice. So I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah, of course.
Very intelligent. I mean, what an intelligent thing to do, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Yeah.
I'd have just gone for the function.
Yeah, of
for the
course. How
functionality.
clever.
But someone was really clever. No, let's get people on the side of the thing,
Yeah.
and
And they
design
do
it like
work.
this.
These little robots do work,
Oh,
actually.
because so we sit down and then they show up. I think they show just up takes about like 30, 45 minutes.
Hmm.
They show up with the shopping.
I know. It's incredible, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
That's
Now,
where it's all
speaking
come
about
from.
going back a bit, because I had two for you from Nigeria from back in the old days. See, because
Yeah.
I schooled in the UK, where I went to. Again, it's crazy, isn't it? It's called public school, but actually it's a private school. I don't know why it's called a
Yeah.
public school. It's a
I don't
private
know. It's
school.
odd, isn't it?
It's weird. And at school here in the UK, we had a matron and laundry and all that. So you changed your clothes when you were told to, and you always had fresh clothes, neatly ironed for you.
Wow.
And life was a breeze. You never really thought about it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finished up here, and then I went back to Nigeria because my mom thought I was turning kind of like weak. She wanted to toughen me up a bit. She sent me off to secondary school in Nigeria, boarding, which is a whole different ballgame, guy.
Really?
There is no matron, okay?
Okay.
You wash your own clothes.
Oh, right.
Now, I'd never washed clothes in my entire life because back at home, we had someone to do that for us. And then at school, we had someone to do for us again.
Yeah.
So I asked I made friends and asked my friends, what do I do? So, well, you put it in the bucket and you put, your detergent in, you soak it for a while, and then you go back and you wash it. Well, all right. So I put that's rather exciting. I put the clothes in. Then I went to play football or something. Then I forgot about them.
Oh.
And I woke up the following day and I thought, yeah, okay, later. And I woke up the third day and I thought, yeah, okay, later.
Oh.
And about 6 days later, the head boy, and by the way, this school, I think I've explained to you before, we had fagging.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, where the older boys beat up the little boy, the younger boys. So the head prefect, the head boy, he was almost godlike, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody messed with the head boy, all right? I mean, you're talking, he was like next to the school principal.
Wow.
And when he made announcements, you shut up and you listened.
Yeah.
So we were at lunch, and after lunch, he got up and he said, look, I've got to ask. There's this bucket that's...
Uh-oh.
There's this bucket of clothes that's festering. It's actually bubbling with algae. Whose is it? What the hell is that? And he said, Boya. And he just went, oh, no. Because by that time, I had been in constant trouble. And this is I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I think it's something like, why did I even ask? Of course it's Boya. All right, this is what we're going to do. He just pointed to some boy. He just said, you make sure that he washes those clothes, and I want to see them washed, dried, and ironed.
Oh,
you better do it, otherwise you'll get beaten. And he had the power to do that.
Oh, wow.
So he assigned a senior boy. I was in Form 1. He assigned a Form 3 boy to do it.
Look after you.
To look after me.
You're doing it.
The Form 3 boy wasn't going to lower himself to that. So the Form 3 boy just passed it off to another Form 1 boy. The one he kind of trusted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then the Form 1 boy sat with me and said, okay, do this and do this. And when he watched me, he was, oh my God, he pushed me away and watched it for me. Because
you were that bad.
I was that bad.
Oh, man.
So what I want to tell the audience about is the irons. They didn't trust us with electric irons because they thought we'd electrocute ourselves or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe there's no electricity, whatever the reason was.
Yeah.
We had coal irons.
Coal irons. Coal. How do they work?
Okay, so it was a deep iron with a lid and holes at the sides so that the coal could breathe. So you took embers of coal from a fire.
Yeah.
And you put them into the iron. And then you kind of you kind of lock the lid into place with a little lever.
Yeah.
And then as long as the coals were hot, you could iron.
Oh.
and there's a cold iron. And what was annoying is that we had white uniforms, and when the embers sparked, they'd burn your they'd put a little burn hole,
of course,
in your uniform. But that's how we used to do it.
Wow. Is this going back to the dark ages? How old are you? 150?
Yeah, this was it was like the 70s, like you. It was back in the 70s. So whilst you were having your tussle with power outages, I was having my tussle with coal irons and washing. I never did get the hang of it. Do you know what happened?
Go on.
We had inspection every week,
Yeah.
and I think I must have been like, what's the name of that character in Peanuts who's got flies flying around him?
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean. I don't remember his name now.
I think I must have been
Brown.
Charlie
Brown. I'm trying to think.
No, it wasn't Charlie Brown. No, I'm saying.
No. The guy that nobody liked. He was just smelly. You can tell he was smelly because with all the flies around him.
I'm afraid. I think I was like that, to be honest. So every time because it was run by priests.
Oh.
And they would do the inspections Saturday mornings.
Oh, right.
And for the first couple of weeks, the dorm leader, whatever it was called, the dormitory prefect, he hadn't really sort of figured out, that Thai was kind of different.
Oh.
So he was expecting me to be like everybody else, like, neatly, presented and everything. And then the priest would come and look at me and stare at me and look at my bed and to go, "What's this?" And the horrified prefect was like, "Good Lord, did you wash? Have you even had a bath, man?" And of course the answer was like, "No, not yet, man. I was too busy playing football or something, or badminton or whatever." So eventually, I got beaten, by the way, constantly. I always used to get 6 lashes of the cane, but that never seemed to straighten out my issues. So eventually, to the great annoyance of the guy that was next to me, it was his duty to look after his bed and mine. So it's intense annoyance. What the hell is this, man? You're not my boss. Why do I have to do your stinking?
To do this? Oh dear.
And someone else washed my clothes, and someone else ironed them. And I never did a stroke of work when it came to that sort of thing. It's incredible what I got away with, man. Incredible.
Oh dear. That's funny.
Okay, go back to our thing again tonight. Our youngsters don't know about the beepers, where we used to get text messages. And when you saw someone with that, you used to think, "Wow, he's important."
Yeah, absolutely. Pager.
The pager, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. They still have those in the NHS, don't you?
I don't know why. Why would they, though? You just send it to the guy's phone.
No, they don't allow the phones. So, because you can't be disturbed with a phone in a hospital. So instead, they page you. And then
what do you mean can't be disturbed? What do you mean by that?
Meaning
you mean the patients?
No, you can't take a call from another member of staff. They page you instead, even now. So the NHS still uses pages.
Yeah, I've seen them in movies, by the way. I mean, like in modern-ish, even from America, yeah.
Yeah, still current now. They're not allowed phones in hospitals. They have to have the pages instead. And number one, the pager that can get you anywhere rather than iffy signal on a phone. There's that. But the idea being is that you then don't get disturbed. So if you're in the middle of something, you just hear the pager go off, you can still carry on. Whereas a phone call, it's clamoring for your attention, isn't it? So whereas a bleeper, just a bleep, and then you just go and phone the number that appears on there and ask them from a landline what's going on.
Yeah.
So they even use that now. But yeah, you're right. Going back to those pages, those were important. People were important if they had them. And I remember when I was growing up and hitting, the jobs in the first time, I wanted a pager because I wanted to be important.
Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine used to have this fantasy, which we used to act out. That's how sort of immature we were. This is, by the way, in my late teens or early 20s. We used to have this fantasy and we'd act it out where a pager would go off. We look at our hip, we take it off, we look at the message, right? And then we mime making a phone call, and then we say something like, I think it was something like this. Hello, Lucerne. Oh no, what's the capital of Switzerland again? Geneva. Right. Sorry.
Geneva.
Yeah. So you pay, hello, Geneva. Yeah. Gold. Sell. Good.
Oh dear.
Talk about what is it? Delusions of grandeur.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah,
Indeed.
that's me, Dial. Yeah, gold, sell.
Oh dear.
No. Talk about clueless. Listen, can you do me a favor? Are you in front of your computer?
Yeah.
Can you type BRI into any search engine of your choice?
BRI
MF.
MF.
What's
Brim.
the autocomplete?
Brimful of Asher.
Isn't that weird?
That's the song that you were talking about.
Yeah, I know. I just wonder why is it that's all I have to type in? That's the first that comes up.
Oh wow. Yeah, brimful of Asher. Maybe that's not a word. Brimful, and they just used it in that. Maybe. I don't know.
No, brimful is a word.
Is it?
Yeah, a brimful of brimful. The full brim is like a hat.
Okay.
Brimful.
I've never used it in that term. I'll be honest with you. Anyway, let's get back onto here because we've got so many things we can discuss, and time is pressing.
I wanted to just because we asked the question, and the young lady. Anyway, go on. I'll catch up to you.
Well, look, some of the things when we were growing up, the football pools. My dad used to do the football pools where this man used to come round people's houses, knock on the door, and say, "Do you want to do the football pools?" And he'd pay a little bit of money, and he would get this piece of paper with all the football teams on it, and he would have to do the pools. Now, obviously, this is all done online, and it's a lot simpler. But this was, you tried to get 8 draws out of the 50-odd games that were being played, and you would win £1 million from Littlewoods pools. I've named them. I don't even know if they still exist, whether they still operate. But it was a big thing. And then on a Saturday afternoon, you had the news with the radio broadcaster giving the football scores. I know they still do it now because they've rekindled it. And the music would come on and go. And my dad used to go, "Right, everyone, shut up, quiet. I got to get the football results." And he'd have there with his piece of paper making a note of the football scores. He'd always be moaning that he'd never get anything right.
My granddad used to do that. He used to do, and he very much like you're saying, "Shh now."
Yeah, shh.
Yeah, shh. What? Shh.
Better
luck next week.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was all about.
I wasn't totally au fait with it, but I did realize it was important because obviously the football scores were coming on, and so yeah, that was interesting.
The other thing, floppy disks.
Floppy disks. Oh, good grief!
when
computers first came out,
an 8 floppy disks are memory disks.
Yes,
guys. So we couldn't download things, so we didn't even have the flipping internet at one point. So you used to go and buy these floppy disks, and on the floppy disk would be the program. Let's say Microsoft Office or whatever it was that you wanted, and you might have 15 of them. Okay, for instance, for a really large program, and you had to take them back, slot them into your computer or whatever it was, and it would read what was on it. It's almost like, think of it as a small CD, and if you don't know what that is, think of it as a small DVD at least, but really small. What was it, 3 3¼ inches, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. No, there was a 5 1/4 inch, and then it was 3½ inch.
Okay, 3½ inch. Okay.
Yeah.
So that size, 3½ inch. So you slide it in, and it's read it, and then say next disk, insert disk 2, and that'll be fine until you got to disk 13, and then there's something the matter with disk 13.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the frustration of that?
Oh, I know.
And you had to take it back to the shop, and then have to do this and that and everything else, and then It
was ridiculous. And also, what was crazy about it is it only used to store 128 K of data. K. So you needed 10 of them to have 1 meg.
So that was the big one. Because the small ones were 1.3 megabytes, weren't they?
The small ones were a little bit more, 1.2 megabytes.
1.3
megabytes. They were a revelation. It's like, oh, wow, these are 10 times as big. It's really good. This is when computers were first coming out. I know how things have changed and moved on. It is totally incredible. The other thing, what I did remember was there was never any fast food places growing up. It was all very traditional. If you didn't, and the other thing was, why it was really important, if your parents cooked you food, you have to eat it. Because if you did not eat it, because you didn't like it, guess what? You had nothing. You couldn't go out to a shop to buy it because there was nothing. You had no fast food outlets. There's no, fast food outlets, KFCs, McDonald's, Burger Kings, and Pizza Huts, etc. There was none of that. None. Mm-hmm. The only fast food place, in quotes, there was fish and chips, and that was it. And you'd if you ever bought fish and chips, it was always a newspaper, and your hands would be black when you were eating the fish and chips because out of newspaper. And those were like, that's the only thing you.
And people said it actually added to the taste, because they were like, I used to ask, isn't this poisonous? Should we really be eating this thing like this? I'm like, that's what makes it taste nice, man. Stop being such a, I'm not going to use the word, but yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, did you ever do this? I don't know whether our listeners did it when they're growing up. They used to do the top 40 hits on Sunday. And we used to have the radio on, and we'd have a little tape player next to the radio. You trying to record on the tape player some of the songs that would be played, and hopefully not get the DJ talking in amongst the songs. You try to record. Oh no, he's talking in it again.
No, I never did that. No.
But the tapes, you have to put a pencil in to roll them up, because sometimes the tape would get snagged and it'd pull out, and you'd be like, oh no, my recording.
It'd start going, and then you had to get to it quickly before it totally snarled up.
Yeah.
So you leap to your feet and rush and switch it off, and then very carefully, sort of gingerly open it up and try to tease out the tape.
Yeah, before it got destroyed, so you didn't want it all mashed up.
What a life. And it was always,
it was crazy,
don't fast forward. And I mean, you always had this favorite song that you wanted to rewind to.
Yeah.
But you realize eventually that the more you rewind,
you more rewound it. Yeah.
Well, I feel like saying, okay, the more you rewound, the more likely you were to kill off your tape.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. It was wouldn't it?
You just had to endure Bert Bacharach or something, and you think, why is he here?
Our listeners are going, who?
Well, exactly. Yeah, don't worry. You didn't miss anything. Goodness.
I mean, and the other thing that I must admit, which is good today, if you don't like a song, you just press one button and it skips to the next start.
It's gone.
Back then, you had to press the button and hope you got to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's a bit more. Oh, God, I've gone too far now. And you have to rewind and fast forward. It was ridiculous. We used to do that, but that's how we used to operate, if you remember.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, actually. I don't know whether you've noticed, but when you buy, I've got to name the brands, unfortunately, but when you buy Quality Street now, or Rose's chocolates, and they come in these plastic tins, I feel I'm shortchanged.
Plastic tin? Oh, yeah. Some do. Not some are still tin, though.
Yeah, but even the ones that are still tin, they're not as big as I remember. I mean, I don't know if it was me, but when I grew up, the Quality Street tins, they were big tins. You got loads inside.
No, like a tin, they were like the hat size, those tins.
They were huge.
For tins for hats.
Yeah,
hat
huge.
Boxes or whatever you want to call them.
And chocolate growing up was much bigger. We had marathons that were massive, and Mars bars and wagon wheels felt like they were the size of a plate. Now, if you see them, they're like tiny biscuits. It's like, oh, come on. I know we're trying to protect the young here, but, a bit of nostalgia. Bring back the original sizes. They were great. They were really good, and I miss all that, I'll be honest with you. Oh.
What about the telephone?
Oh, don't.
Proper telephone, as I call them, the proper telephones. Do you remember what it's like to have one telephone?
Yeah.
And there's this girl who's called. Your girlfriend is called, and you'd really like a moment of privacy to talk to your girlfriend. But the one thing you're not going to get?
Is privacy.
It's privacy.
Well, it's wired, wasn't it? Wired.
It was wired. You couldn't take it anywhere. So you're stuck probably in the family room.
Yep.
And everybody else with their bug ears would be sitting there. And you're like, guys, give me some space, man. They'd be like, nah, that's okay, fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. You had no hope of speaking to anyone privately. It was just everyone could hear your conversation.
And my dream was to get a phone that had a long lead. That was my dream, that I'd be rich enough to afford a phone that had a lead long enough that I could take it to the kitchen and sit down with it, because that's what I saw in the movies.
Yeah,
and I used to be so jealous of these people
long
who could,
ones, didn't they?
these long ones that they could walk around anywhere. I think, man, it must be so nice, to be able to go somewhere with and get some blooming privacy. And then what about operators? Did you ever speak to the operator?
I didn't actually. No, I didn't. Why did you?
Yeah, I did. Because on a couple of occasions, my then girlfriend traveled to America, and you call up the operator and could you please connect me to yada yada yada. And I always used to sweeten the pot by saying, "Good morning, America." And 99% of the time, the person on the other end would be chuffed.
Oh wow!
Because they were America, basically.
Yeah.
Good morning, America. Could I please have Texas, yada, yada, yada? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really? You charmer, you charmer. You knew the score.
And then they disconnect you. Now, of course, it's like, where did I get a message from the other day? I got a call from Nigerian. And how easy it is now. No international fees, nothing. In those days, you used to think about the fees.
Oh.
Because these horrendously expensive international calls,
to rob you.
You had to say what you had to say quickly and then get off because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
And now you don't even think about it. Just
pick up the phone and dial, or use some of these internet services. They're just totally free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like a WhatsApp call or something. It doesn't cost a penny.
Incredible.
And I don't even know how they're making money out of the blooming thing, because I have no idea how they're making money out of it.
I don't know. But it is incredible how that's changed. Did you ever use the phone boxes, though?
Yeah.
Just for a benefit of our listeners here, they probably don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, they must have watched Doctor Who, surely.
Well, yes, I suppose, but that was an old police box. But I'm talking about the red.
Oh, yes, you're right.
London,
sorry, it was a police box. Sorry.
Yeah, yes. In London and places like that, we used to have them on the corners, and used to queue up, and other people would be ahead of you, and you'd have to turn up there with 2p pieces, a whole stack of them, or 10p pieces, because when you're making a call, you're dialing somebody, and then when the credit would run out, because your penny would go, so that means it's going to cut out unless you thrust another 2p piece or 10p piece in the machine in order to continue the conversation. And I remember growing up, my parents had relatives in Italy, so they would call them from a payphone, and first we'd have to queue outside, and sometimes it's freezing cold or raining and you're waiting in a queue for someone to finish. Then you go in and you've got your stack of 2p pieces, and you're trying to talk to someone. Hi, Auntie Celia. Oh God, here we go. Put it back in again. Hello, how's things? Is the weather good over? Yeah, the weather's really good. Oh my God, and you're constantly fighting the bleeps and hoping that you can quickly do it before you can have a conversation, and the money doesn't cut you off. It was outrageous. We are so blessed now. It's incredible. And
when you realize you're no longer innocent, because you start understanding what some of the messages are scrolled all over the place. But when you're young, you look at these messages, call Cindy, yada yada. Think, sorry, who the hell is Cindy? It's like, I don't get this. Why would I want to talk? It was just irrelevant because you saw it all the time.
Yeah.
You didn't know what it was all about. You just thought, okay, I don't understand. I don't know. Right. Just amazing. Completely over my head. When I was away, I left the country. I was out of the UK for quite a while. Basically, I wasn't here during the 80s. I left in the early 80s. I didn't come back to the 90s. I didn't come back to the noughties.
Oh, wow. You were gone for 20 years.
Quite a long time I was away. And coming in from Heathrow on the train, I had this very surreal experience because there were adverts on the train, and I was quite impressed that there were adverts on the train, because last time I was here, there weren't adverts on the train. There weren't, TVs in the train. But I couldn't understand what the hell was going on, because what would happen? Somebody, the scene would change. There'll be buildings, maybe London, I don't know, some kind of skyline. It would be deep evening, and there'd be an orange glow in the sky. And then someone would just say, the future is bright. The future is orange. Orange. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, and that would be it. I'm sitting there thinking, sorry, what? And then the next one will come on and some kind of fancy thing would happen and it just goes, free. And we're like, what? Hey, what the hell is going on? I've been looking at other people thinking, look, is it just me? And it was just me. And like everybody else was quite sanguine. So, I don't get it, man. What the hell are these people advertising? Well, and you couldn't actually tell.
Oh, really?
And that kind of sense of dislocation of not,
Wow.
I'll never forget. I just felt disconnected from society because I felt there was a message behind it because nobody else was alarmed, but I was feeling very out of it.
Wow.
It's
You weren't
completely.
aware there were mobile phone operators.
No, I didn't know anything about. I had a phone. My first, I think it was a Nokia. No, it was a Samsung actually. I remember
Oh,
it from.
wow.
No, I can actually mentally see it now. It was a Samsung. But in Nigeria, what we had was a horrible system where you don't do contracts. You don't do phone contracts.
Oh, right.
So you have to keep topping it up. And if you don't top it up, you lose what's on it.
Oh.
I know. So it's a terrible, terrible system. And I didn't really see, how, because how many people had mobile. I was one of the first people to get a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that many people to call. But upon reaching here, I couldn't connect it to like it was a mobile or anything. I just didn't know what the hell it was.
Okay.
It was just news to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Did you? I'm mindful we're getting close to the end of the show.
Really? You haven't said anything.
I know, it's crazy. It's gone so quick because it's been quite a fun subject, actually. There's some things that I don't miss. I mean, I do like nowadays that we've got things like Costa Coffee and places like that, Starbucks, that you can just go off and have a coffee with a friend, and they're open quite late as well. They're quite flexible because obviously we had none of that growing up. You literally, if you wanted a cup of coffee, you had to go around someone's house. You couldn't go anywhere else, or a cup of tea. But okay, that did encourage community, of course. And obviously back then, there was a sense of knowing your community. You knew more of the people in the street because you were always out. You didn't stay in. Nowadays, the kids and young people choose to stay in because they can communicate to anyone from the comfort of their home. Whereas back when we were growing up, if we stayed indoors, we were just looking at four walls or a telly with 3 channels, So the only way we could communicate with our friends was actually go out and meet with them. And that's the difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I think we're better for it, I think.
I think so. I think absolutely.
That's one of the things we're probably better for. How about this then? How about, because they wouldn't know, do they know how to crank up a window in a car?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Remember when it got stuck?
Oh,
and you had to jiggle the damn thing and it was raining.
Oh,
and you were getting wet inside. And you're like, well, I told you not to wind it down. There's something in that with it.
Wow. Cars, dear,
do you know what one of my great pleasures was? It was cranking up our 304.
A Peugeot 304?
Yep.
Okay.
It had a front crank.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I used to love turning the crank and getting the car to start. You remember, you've seen maybe Harold Lloyd or something. You've seen him cranking his car?
Yeah.
Well, it was going until I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
We still had cars that were cranked.
Crank started,
Crank started.
Wow.
And there was a tremendous kickback if you got it wrong.
Yes, it was. God, blimey, take your arm off.
It was, but they actually let me do it, which is amazing because now there'd be health and safety saying, you can't let a little boy do that.
Yeah.
But I love doing that. I love cranking, and then it'll start, and you're like, "Oh, I'm the man! I'm the man!" It's amazing.
Absolutely. Right, I'm gonna have to end it here. I'll be honest. I mean, the only final thing I want to say, what everyone used to love was Morecambe and Wise on a Saturday evening, because it was a comedy show, and then the Christmas special at Christmas, and you used to get millions of people tuning in because there was only 3 channels, so that was the choice. So,
and they were good.
Yeah, they were good compared to what we got.
And today. The 2 Annies.
The 2 Ronnies. Yeah,
the 2 Ronnies. Sorry,
good.
2
Yes, very good, very good. Anyway, we could go on for hours here, but unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.